numbers told the story. They always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSIN.
Good Friday morning to you. It is a numbers game at VSIN, the sports betting network, VSIN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV. It is a football Friday where sports betting lives. Glad to have you. It's Gill Alexander. It's Kelley Bydlon, everybody. Producer number 9. So much more than a producer. What's happening, man?
Not much. Loaded show as always on Fridays here.
Loaded. Let me just give you the second hour first. Chris Valika, Steve Fezzik, Dr. Bob. Bam!
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's only 1 hour of the show. Paul Carr with his Premier League picks, always moving the chains forward with his bets. Jason Weingarten will join us. We'll do Are We Sure in the NFL? We'll talk about our bets as well. And obviously we want to talk Jets and Patriots. But on a football Friday, we have to make an exception at the start of this show because we have to talk about what Shohei Ohtani did yesterday. And I am, if nothing else, a baseball nerd. So when these things happen, I just have to stop and talk about him. Shohei Ohtani, of course, everybody knows by now, unless you were trapped under a heavy object, 50-50, the first 50-50 player, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases in the history of Major League Baseball. He does so in even more dramatic fashion than the night that he got to 40-40. The night that he got to 40-40, he got to the 40th home run with a grand slam walk-off. Last night, he arguably gets to 50-50 with, you ready for this? The greatest single performance, perhaps, in the history of Major League Baseball. That is not an exaggeration in one ball game. That is not an exaggeration. First of all, let me just say this. 3 home runs and 2 stolen bases. Let's say you just landed on Shohei yesterday.
Yeah.
And he had 3.
That's the big one, yeah.
And he had 3 homers and 2 stolen bases. That had not been done since, I think, 1901, they said, the beginning of the 20th century. That's the first time that's happened since. When I was a kid, I remember there was
So it's never been done by Kelley Bydlon rules.
By your rules. What is the word? Was life?
Prohibition. Prohibition's the cutoff.
Is where life cuts off?
Exactly. Yeah.
I see.
Stats can only be counted after prohibition.
So there's God, there's evolution, and then there's the Bydlonism.
That's right.
It just starts after prohibition, I see. So anyway, that alone, right? Like when I was a kid, I remember there was a baseball card, some Nate Colbert, who used to play for the Padres. He had 5 homers in a doubleheader, and they made a dedicated baseball card just about that one game. They would have made a dedicated baseball card just about the fact that he had 3 homers and 2 stolen bases. Mm-hmm. So Shohei ends up, forget about that, he ends up with 10 RBI in the Dodgers route
10
of the Marlins. 10 RBIs, 6 hits, 6 for 6, I should say, 5 extra base hits, including the 3 homers and the 2 stolen bases. Only one player has ever done all of that, as you might imagine, in one baseball game, and that is the great Shohei Ohtani, who stole his 50th base after a double to start off the festivities for him, had another double after that. He also got his 51st stolen base uncontested on his next at-bat when he had a single. And then his last three at-bats were Homer 49, 2-run shot, Homer 50 Oppo, 2-run shot, and then just for good measure, a 51st Jack. He's now 51-51. 55-55 maybe by the end of the season.
Yeah, for real, man.
It's just incredible. And the Dodgers, by the way, headed to the postseason, of course.
Do you think...
Shohei's first ever.
Just 2 things quick. I don't know what it is about Shohei, but every time he comes up in one of these at-bats that we're all sitting there, right, where you're like, this could be history. And it's just, he has the same facial expression. It's just like, I'm just going to go out here and hit this home run. It's just wild, man. And the fact that this guy's just going to be pitching next year.
Well, this is the final point I wanted to make. The discussion of, is he the greatest player of all time? And you know how I feel about Barry Lamar Bonds, but you can't even have the discussion. Shohei is a Cy Young level pitcher. Yeah. It's not even the same thing. He does both things at an elite level, and...
Gill, y'all told me the guy was going to pitch and hit. You didn't tell me he was going to steal 50 bags in a season too. What the heck? It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Do you think you always do a great job breaking down the stats with the multiple home run games and cycles and everything? Would you rather have one of those home runs taken back to have the cycle to just say this was the greatest baseball performance ever?
That's a good question. Would I have traded the 51st homer for a triple? Probably.
Right. Yeah, probably.
You stink, Shohei.
Because it'd be slam dunk the greatest game ever that nobody can ever top.
I don't know that we'll ever see this beaten. I really don't.
And then you were laughing at me.
This is a good month for certain major league players. 10 RBI, 3 homers, 2 stolen bases. Like, that's a good month for a lot of players.
We were laughing pre-show. I didn't see it till this morning, but how close the guy was to grabbing the 50th home run, and then it falls down.
For the rest
Gotta lay out for it, buddy.
For the rest of his life, he is going to have that question rattling around inside his dome of, should I have laid out more?
Should I have fallen 6 feet to concrete but caught the ball?
and if he's super introspective, he's going to be like, what does this say about me that I didn't do it in that moment?
I'll just tell you, Gill, I'm diving for the concrete to make that catch.
You totally are.
I'm going over that rail for that ball.
Bloodied Kelley Bydlon.
I mean, of course, I would not come away with it. I would just be, bloodied on the concrete with like a broken arm.
Kelley Bydlon. Shohei Ohtani, tip of the cap. What do you say? What do you say? And he's headed to the postseason for the first time in his career. Of course, he didn't sniff it with the Angels. So I don't know that Felica's coming on later. Of course, I'm going to ask him. I'll be like, you still think Lindor is going to be MVP? I think I have to have that conversation with him. But that's just incredible. You have to lead off because juxtaposed against that football game last night, that absolutely has to be your lead. I was wrong about the Pats. I was right about the under. That ended up being one of my Megapod best bets as well. The Jets beat the Patriots last night 24-3 in a game that might as well have been 48-3. Like, that was just such a stomping. And I don't know where Jets good, Pats bad begins and ends, but certainly Pats bad, right? They couldn't tackle. They looked tired. Jacoby Brissett was 12 of 18 for 98 yards. They were outgained. I'll just go to the team stats because the individual stats don't do it justice. Jets had 27 first downs. The Pats had 11. The Jets were 10 of 15 on third down. The Patriots were 2 of 11 on third. And total yards, 400 to 139. Oh, my God. 400 to 139. By the way, the passing yards, 267 to 61 when you factor in the stats. And then the time of possession, 40 minutes and 4 seconds to 1956.
That was wild.
You get the idea. And if you could have endured the 3-hour slurp of Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit on Aaron Rodgers, then you watch this entire game. That was a little much, by the way, the 3-hour slurp. I was like, okay, enough. But now, I hope we put the Achilles thing to bed, ladies and gentlemen, for both Cousins and Rodgers. I hope we can do that now after their last performances. But this is, I'm glad we mentioned this, that 2 weeks ago, we would have thought this outcome would have happened. Mm-hmm. And so while I was able to get the under, easy peasy, the notion that the Patriots could have covered here, apparently, I let recency bias get the best of me because that's the Jets team that we expected.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll talk about it from a betting perspective. We'll talk about this for the next few weeks, but it is always hey, when do you come off your priors, right? And when do your priors still hold true? Like you said, we would have said this box score seems very likely a few weeks ago. So I'm kind of with you. I don't really know how much you put in the, Jets good versus Patriots bad, but it was we did at least expect the Patriots to be bad this season.
Yes.
I don't know that I was expecting within the first few weeks to see one of the best Aaron Rodgers games that I've seen in years.
He was great.
He was awesome.
He was absolutely great. He looked every bit as sharp as you could have possibly expected from him. On the run, he looked sharp. Made all the right decisions. He seemed to know, of course, in Aaron Rodgers fashion, what was happening pre-snap. But the Patriots just didn't look like they were ready to play football last night. They really didn't. And I will say this, and we have no idea. Here's the thing. When Thursday Night Football happens, we don't know what percentage of players played the Jets in Survivor. There's 3,800 left in Circa Survivor specifically. I'm going to guess, this is just a guess, I could be way off, but I'm going to guess about 10% of the pool had the Jets.
You think it's that high?
I think it's going to be 300 or 400.
Okay.
I do. I know a lot of people are like, well, it's Thursday, it's going to mute it, anyway, naturally. I do think that's the case, but I think about 300 probably took a shot on them. I've gotten a few tweets about it, and good on you guys for doing it, and now you get to sit back and watch everybody else endure.
Yeah.
That's the other thing about Survivor, too, and I'll have this talk with Fezzik later in that second hour, because Fezzik's theory is this is not going to go the distance. And I had a brief conversation with Derek Stevens yesterday on my way out, and I disagree entirely, because just because the rate of carnage that has existed so far has been the case doesn't mean it's a predictor of future carnage. So this could be a week where everybody wins. We don't know. Maybe the Bengals win. Maybe the Browns win. Maybe everybody who's going to be a top pick gets there.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, one of those weeks is coming. You know what I mean? For whatever you want to say about
it always does.
Yeah, for whatever you want to say about the entire season, it's not going to be carnage after carnage after carnage after carnage.
It doesn't, and you will see it in the percentage that while this year is the most carnage through 2 weeks, that a couple other seasons in the brief 5-year history of Circa Survivor actually gains ground this coming week. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Bottom line, the Jets are still the second short shot now to win the AFC East behind the Bills. The Bills are still the short shot, but then there's the Jets. And then there's a big gap between the Bills and the Jets, and then the Dolphins, who are distant single digits, and the Patriots, obviously, in a world of their own. Do you think the Jets should be the short shot, or you're a Bills guy, so you probably think the Bills should be?
Yeah, I'll have to remove a question from Are We Sure?
Oh,
but no, you're okay.
There I go, killing other segments.
No, I think this goes back to our priors, right? Like, I will stick by what I said all summer. I've never bet against the Bills as long as Josh Allen's there. Do I think the Jets are the best team in the AFC East, though? Yeah, I do.
And we thought that before the season.
I still think that.
Yeah.
Or maybe I think that once again, after last night.
Yeah. Could the Jets be 1-2 and not 2-1? Absolutely, but they're not. They banked the 2 wins, and good on them. They're 2-1 with now extra rest headed into next season. My biggest single takeaway from this segment, I always like to review the segment before we go. The world began at Prohibition, everybody.
That's right. Sports stats did.
Shohei, man, unbelievable.
Wild
What do you say? And I cannot wait for it. By the way, the other things that happened. The Twins lost for our Tigers bet yesterday. That's awesome. And Mets still 2 ahead of the Braves in our other make the playoffs, miss the playoffs bet. So that's good. Premier League with Paul next.
A numbers game on VSIN, the sports betting network.
Back on a numbers game, live from Circa. It's Gill Alexander. It's Kelley Bydlon. I should say Circa Resort and Casino. People are like, what's Circa? Circa Resort and Casino. Majestic, beautiful downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. Can we call it majestic again?
Yeah.
I think we can.
I always wonder when there's like the hotel resort cutoff. When does a hotel become a resort?
Oh, great question. Great question.
When do you include spa? Because like some of the places around town are like hotel, casino, spa.
I think they decided that right after Prohibition. Right after. Once again.
Probably.
It all starts there. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Russ 916-77458. Because 457 was taken. My football week doesn't start until I've listened to the Megapod. Oh, thank you, sir. Praise for the Megapod again this week. The Beating the Book podcast, the Megapod, every Thursday. This week's rotating guest with Will Hill, Todd Wishnev, and me, Adam Chernoff from Right Angle Sports, and of course the Simple Handicap. He was great. This is from Gill's Guys 15284. Mine starts during Guessing Lines. The other podcast that Guessing Lines we actually do here on a numbers game, and then we actually repurpose it for the podcast. The Megapod is a standalone on the Beating the Book feed.
Have we discussed the Gill's Guys apostrophes before?
No, we have not. Did poor apostrophe game?
Yeah. Gill's Guys. We got to clear that up, yeah.
Mr. Bomb Apple. Sounds like something in hip-hop. Chernoff ripping Peyton and then picking Denver. / humble bragging about his age not being born when Peyton started coaching. Hill with the subtle humor and digs throughout, Todd being classic Todd, and Gill berating him. Best football pod going. Now worried about my Cincy Survivor pick. Oh, yeah, I haven't decided either. So the Megapod, again, really appreciate everybody chiming in on that. A bunch on that. One more. This is from James Hughes. Listening to Gill trying to recap Sean Payton's decisions at the end of last week's game, the thought that crossed my mind that there are 3 things certain in life: death, taxes, and Todd continually interrupting Gill. I love it. That's out.
Yes, that is a regular.
It's outstanding. Yes, he has a problem with that. He has other great strengths, though, but that's a problem. Okay, let us go to the heartland, Topeka, Kansas, where, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line, we'll talk some Premier League with Paul Carr, everybody. Of course, host of the Expected Value podcast. Also works at Trumedia Networks, where he spreads the gospel of analytics throughout baseball and football worlds. How you doing, Paul?
I'm good. Gill, I think if you want to be a resort, I think you have to have at least 2 swimming pools.
Oh.
Or one giant one, maybe. That's what I'm thinking.
I was about to say, is that true? But you're totally making this up, is what you're doing.
I'm totally making this up.
Oh, okay.
And maybe a golf course. I don't know. You might have to have a golf course.
Golf course.
Yeah. 2 pools and a golf course equals resort. That sounds.
If you have a golf course, you definitely become a resort.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Instant resort status.
Instant resort status.
Yeah, I think so. I'm glad we solved that. Paul, Champions League picks, how did they go?
1-2 for the week. We got 90-minute loser yesterday when Atletico scored, so that stunk. But 1-2. Feel good about the handicaps, just not the results.
Not the results. What are we on the season?
So we're 7-5 in the Premier League, so up a couple units so far through 4 weeks of Premier League.
Okay. Anything surprise before we get to your picks? Anything in the early going of the Premier League that, if obviously can't draw too many conclusions, but is there something you have noticed that you're keeping your eye on?
I would say Liverpool is better than I expected sooner. Jurgen Klopp retired from Liverpool, and so they brought in a new manager. And I thought Liverpool would be, a top 4 contender, but they're pretty clearly the third best team at worst in the league right now. So that's a little bit surprising that they look as good as they do already under a new manager and a slightly new system.
All right. You have a couple tomorrow. One includes Liverpool, which is an under. What's happening to you with the unders, Paul? What's going on?
I'm not sure. Midlife crisis.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know how comfortable I am with this. Rooting against human achievement, not as fun, but Here we are.
Here we are. Liverpool, Bournemouth under 3.5 goals.
Yeah, we'll start there. This is kind of simple. So, none of Liverpool's 4 Premier League games this season have had more than 3 goals. None have had more than 3 expected goals, so it's not fluky. And this goes to the new manager. Jurgen Klopp played kind of a breakneck pace that generated a lot of high-quality scoring chances, both for his team and the other team. So obviously lots of goals would come from that. And Arne Slot, the new manager, has slowed things down. Fewer possessions per game this season. They're not as direct, meaning they're not going straight to goal quite as quickly. All the underlying numbers and ways of measuring that suggest Liverpool is slowing things down. And so their games just aren't as crazy. And under 3.5 is not as nuts or painful as it might have been last year. Bournemouth, they're off to a decent start, but Liverpool's going to dictate this game. So I expect this again, 2-1 type of game in favor of Liverpool or something, under 3.5 at -120.
All right. And then you have a both teams to score, the old BTTS.
Yes, both teams to score no, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So clear that up.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is not both teams to score, or usually it's a both teams to score no, and on most of the books they'll list it that way. This is Leicester City and Everton tomorrow. 2 of the bottom 3 teams in the league in expected goals. They're both in the bottom half in shot quality. Between them, they played 8 games, and only once has one of them had more than 10 shots in a game this season. These are also 2 relegation-threatened teams. Both will think they can scrape out a win and get 3 points from this one. So I think this will be relatively tight. Everton has some injuries up top, so they're a little slower than they would be even normally. So I just think this is one of your old rock fights type of games. So both teams to score no, +125.
Both teams to score. The answer is no. Leicester City and Everton. Paul got +125. Always shop around for the best price there. Also on a Saturday, along with that Liverpool under. Sunday, you have another under. Oh, my God. What's going on here? I don't even know you anymore.
I'm sorry. I'll try to do better next week.
Oh, I like it.
This is one of the big games of the year. This is the 2 best teams. This is Manchester City and Arsenal. I kind of wish they were playing a little bit later in the season, a month later, once things are humming a little bit more, and not on a Sunday after a Champions League week. But here we are. So I like under 2.5 in this one at -120. We had under 2.5 in Man City's Champions League game midweek, and that was 0-0. There were plenty of good chances there, so that one could have gone much differently. But the last 3 games between these teams have had a total of 3 goals. They played 3 times last season, total of 3 goals. This is what Arsenal wants to do. You look at their Champions League game against Atalanta yesterday, 0-0, 14 total shots, under 2 expected goals. That's what manager Mikel Arteta and Arsenal want to do on the road. They also have midfield injuries, so they're emphasizing their defensive stability a little bit more. Arsenal, this is what they could try to control games. They don't want to give up much. They don't create a whole lot. They're okay with that too, especially on the road in big games. So if you told Arsenal this would be 0-0, they would take it and run and probably have a party about it right now. So 0-0, 1-0, 1-1, those are obviously the scorelines that work for you. And I think that's what we get. Under 2.5, -120 is my price.
All right, 3-pack from Paul. Saturday again, Leicester City, Everton. Both teams to score no. In other words, not both teams will score. No on the both teams will score at +125. Liverpool, Bournemouth under 3.5 goals. And then Sunday, the big one, Man City and Arsenal. Under 2.5. Man City right now with 12 points in the early going of the Premier League. Arsenal with 10, 1-2 right now. Newcastle's in there as well. So that's the big one. Paul's going under there. Real quick, I know you used to work at ESPN in research, Paul. and Shohei did what Shohei did last night.
Yeah.
3 homers, 10 RBI, 50-50, now 51-51. What would that have been like for you had you been at work at ESPN last night?
So the 50-50 part, obviously, is coming. There's a packet. You're ready for that. Otherwise, there are games, baseball games, soccer games, any kind of game, where very little happens, and you really struggle to find anything that's notable from a stat perspective. Last night is the complete opposite of that. So much happened that the big challenge is not finding information, but which, of this pile of notes, what are the best ones and how to get those across? Because he did so many different things, and you can mix and match, 3 home runs and 2 steals, or 10 RBI and 2 steal. You can mix and match this so many different ways. And you probably saw, different notes scrolling through Twitter. Second guy to do it, first guy to do it, first guy in 100 years, when you just tweak the note slightly. So the biggest challenge is, what are the best things? And then just being clear, because there are so many similar things that you're inevitably going to get asked. Why? What? I saw this. I thought it was this. What's going on? So it's just clarity in communicating everything and picking what are actually the best notes out of this mountain of goodness that Shohei has given us.
Can I ask a really silly question? Forgive me if this is ignorant, but what is that? How do you determine that the last 3 home run, 2 stolen base game was in 1901? Do you stick it in some database and it spits out something?
Yeah.
Is it a query? Because I assume Howie Schwab, when he was around, was not standing there answering all of your questions about everything.
No. I would say it's a combination of 3 things. One is there are public resources like Baseball Reference, where you can do a lot of these lookups. There are internal proprietary databases that ESPN has and has developed. It's like for the World Cup, we developed the database of every World Cup goal, categorized every possible way you could do it, and could use that to find the last time someone scored with his left foot in the 3rd minute against Germany or whatever. And then there's some proprietary things like contracting with the Elias Sports Bureau, where ESPN can ask questions, because they're the official statistician.
That's right.
So especially when you get way back and things are a little bit fuzzy, then it's all right. You can ask them a direct question and they'll spit it back at you. So it's some combination of all those things.
Love that. All right, on your way out, 30 seconds, you're a Dolphins fan. What's going to happen this week? Skylar Thompson.
I don't know. I'm depressed. I didn't want to talk about it. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
I mean, I'm a little more optimistic that week to game plan that it won't be terrible. He hasn't been terrible when he's had time to prep and start in the past. I'm not saying he's been good, but he hasn't been, god awful or something like that.
That was about the response I thought I would get, Paul. I'm sorry. I should have cut it off after the Elias Sports Bureau told.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm going to go cry now.
Also pretty sure we've asked Paul about Skylar Thompson now multiple times on this show.
Dolphins 4.5-point dogs at Seattle. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it for the 3-pack of picks and, of course, the insight on what goes on a night like that from Shohei. Kelley and I on NFL Week 3, all our plays, and Are We Sure? Next.
A numbers game on VSIN, the sports betting network.
Nobody knows football like VSIN, and for a limited time, you can get your first month of VSIN Pro for just $9.99. Sign up now. You gain instant access to our daily best bets, 19 hours of live programming, proven betting systems, and our exclusive betting splits. Start a monthly subscription today. Get your first month for only $9.99 or bet smarter through the entire NFL season with our football special for just $175. Don't miss out on these limited time offers. Go to VSIN.com/subscribe to sign up now. That's VSIN.com/subscribe and become a better. It's Gill Alexander. It's Kelley Bydlon. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Best listeners in the game. Always appreciate the feedback. Expert, trust the glove. In order for a hotel to be classified as a resort, you need to replace the S with a Z. Instant resort.
AI tells me, by the way, this is
that.
Google AI tells me that just simply a hotel is considered a resort when it offers more than just a place to sleep and basic services.
So like coffee becomes a resort?
Pretty much, yeah.
Stop it.
It's a boring answer, AI. Get better, AI.
SoCal Fantasy. Megapod is a must-listen, but it would be better as a must-watch. Didn't it used to be on video as well? Can't it be uploaded to YouTube? We used to put out a clip of it, and just as a promotional clip. I'm not sure we're doing that anymore. Based on the way we're actually doing the Megapod now. I'll inquire within about that.
Different technology this year.
Yes, different technology. Jason H. 118. Another great Megapod. It is a bit concerning, though, when the best part is when Todd is fat-shaming Will Hill. Todd, who is north of 3 bills but has lost 8 pounds, is now fat shaming others. It's something. Joe C714, kudos to Gill for calling out the greatness of Ohtani when he first came over. First person that I know that went on record and said he'll possibly be one of the greatest when others were doubting him. Hashtag a numbers game. Thank you, Joe C. Jason Weingarten also right there. He's coming up later on the show here. Disc golfer. I did not know this because we were, focused on the Jets Patriots. Ohtani on his second triple actually got thrown at second double, actually got thrown out trying to stretch it into a triple. Awesome. He would have hit for the cycle yesterday to go with everything else. LOL.
I was not aware of that.
I was not aware of that either. Thank
Ohtani,
you, disc
you're
golfer.
Awesome. Way to try. Way to try for it.
Yeah, he was in the moment.
Yeah.
He knew what history was looking for. Bainbridge DeWeese, that Jets game was awesome. I kept hearing your voice, Gil, saying you have to take advantage of these opportunities when they come, as I bet the Jets in-game 4 times. I thought you were going to say you kept betting the under, but Jets bet in-game 4 times also. Russ Ambrose. Okay, this might be a good indicator of what I was speculating with what percentage of people took the Jets in Survivor. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. It's like a Pavlov dog thing now. End of week Survivor distribution offshore per Russell Ambrose. Bengals and the Bucks 18%. This is of entries that have been submitted already. Bengals and Bucks each with 18%. The Jets with 17%. So that would indicate more than I thought, right? That would be about, in terms of circa Survivor, 600 plus. Wow. Okay. Biggest movers for the early week, Jets with more picks and Bengals Bucks lower.
I'm a little surprised Seahawks aren't closer to that group up top.
So it looks like a lot of people just bet all of a sudden before game time, put in Jets picks. They were contemplating it, and then they threw in the Jets. Raiders, by the way, and Browns right after that. So those are the 4 top. Bengals, Bucks, Jets, Raiders, Browns. 5 top Survivor plays. That doesn't surprise me. Was that it, guys? That's it? Okay. All right. NFL. So what bets have you made? What's in pocket right now?
Oh, boy.
Let's review.
Lot. Yeah, you want to go over yours first?
I'll go over mine first. I have the Bengals and Vikings in a 6-point teaser. That is my the teaser play that I made. So, again, taking the Bengals down through the 7-3, taking the Vikings up through the 3-7. Bengals taking on the Commodores on Monday night. Remember, 2 Monday night games this week. 2 Monday night games.
Oh, and 5 late window games. Finally,
it's a beautiful
this is the schedule, NFL, please.
Vikings hosting the Texans, by the way, in that leg of the teaser. I did take the Saints. Guessing lines, I was right. I guessed Saints minus 2.5. It was Philly minus 2.5 or whatever it was. Guessing lines. This came to my guess about 24 hours later. I still bet the Saints at minus 2.5, and I do have the Bengals. I bet I bought it down to 7 on the Bengals minus 122 against the Washington Commodores on Monday night, the second of the 2 Monday night games. And last night I had both the Patriots loss and the under win in the Thursday night game. So 2 of mine are already in the rear view.
Nice. Okay.
I may add or I may not. I don't know. Reason that I ended up with a total, like Megapod listeners will tell you, I rarely play totals in the 3 best bets. But I just didn't think there was enough good stuff in week 3 for me to not play that total last night.
Okay, interesting you bring that up because I haven't checked on this. I'd be willing to bet though that I have bet on more totals these first few weeks than I have in the last 4 or 5 years, something like that. I don't really know that there's anything to it. Okay, for mine this week, I'll start with ones I hit on the opening lines. Bucks 6.5, but that's right there still. I don't know if I'm feeling as confident about that as the week goes on, but Bo Nix hadn't really shown much, so I'm not completely shying away from it either. Titans money line, I got 125. Yes, it is a little higher now. Cardinals 3.5. That is not around anymore. Yeah, I know Fezzik bet these. This is a little bit of a tale of him. These top 2 totals, 49ers, Rams, under 44, just kind of as the injury information was coming out midweek on both of these teams. Thought that was a good underplay. Dolphins, Seahawks, under 41.5 as well. Seahawks defense has been looking great. Dolphins obviously going to be rolling into Seattle with a backup quarterback. Lions, Cardinals, over 51. Played the over in that game. I have a Cowboys-Niners teaser. So Cowboys up to 7.5, Niners down to 1.5. And then Ayuk over 63.5 receiving yards. That is a Matt Brown tale from the other day. And then I've got that. These are a lot of bets for me, Gil, more than I was expecting. None of them are overly heavy. I've still got others I'm considering adding, though.
You ain't too proud to tail is your thing. You're not.
I always want to give credit where credit's due, but Eagles Saints threes are starting to pop.
Yeah.
I kind of told myself if it hit 3, I might need to get involved with Philly. I'm waiting for Steve Fezzik to come in here and convince me that the Chargers belong in a teaser with the Bengals.
He will give a whole Chargers dissertation about a teaser.
I think I like that side, but oh man, do we know some sharp guys that are like in love with the Chargers this week that I just
love them.
I can't fully get on board yet.
Yeah.
And then this Texans number keeps coming down, and you can get Texans minus 130 on the money line right now, and I don't know. I might be involved.
And you believe they're the greatest team in the NFL
I think they're the best team.
Real quick before we do, are we sure in the NFL? I just want to say this because betting tennis, VSIN.com/picks, every host, every guest, all sports, every pick is logged at VSIN.com/picks. And I've been betting tennis for subscribers. This is all for subscribers, so it pays to subscribe. The tennis plays are in Asia. The ladies' side is in Seoul, Korea, and in Thailand. We have 3 picks on the overnight, and it was supposed to all be played in the overnight, but everything got delayed. So one of them, we just hit one. Hartono beat Hontama. This is in Thailand. You know Hartono and Hontama, of course. So we win as a slight. Were we slight favorite or slight dog? I'd have to check at this point because I get confused with all 3 of them. But it's up there, and so Hartona's a winner. We have a second one coming up, which is Laura Siegemund, a German player who's a slight favorite when I bet it last night against Rebecca Masarova. So Siegemund is the play right now if you could still get in on that in Thailand. And then later tonight, that got pushed back 24 hours, Deanna Schneider is the third pick taking on the lovely Marta Kostyuk. So Hartono a winner, Siegemund coming up in 2 minutes, or 5 minutes, whatever it is, you know how tennis goes, and then Schneider tonight. Back to football. Are we sure? You ready?
I see Schneider plus 110. I can't find the other tennis tournament.
It must be starting pretty soon here. Sorry I didn't get that in.
Yeah, you're fine.
Football takes over.
All right, are we sure? Are we sure?
Yes.
Bryce Young will never start for the Panthers again.
Well, if Andy Dalton got hurt, he would. But if we're talking about beyond injury by choice.
Yeah, I should have said that. Barring an injury.
No. And no, unless they're so bad at the end of the year that he would get a mercy start. So I'm going to say by choice, no.
Okay.
By choice, no. Never for the Panthers.
I agree with you. I'm actually kind of surprised how much talk I feel like I've heard of. Well, give him a few weeks and yada. I'm like, no, I think he's done with that franchise. Yeah. Unless there's an injury or unless there are some games at the end of the year where they are so far out of it, it just doesn't matter.
And as correct as we were about Bryce Young, I still say Canales for these 2 games early in the season deserves some blame. Play him in the preseason, for God's sake.
Totally. Yeah. Your point on him in the preseason is, I mean, we've talked about a lot of people in the preseason, but what world did we think that guy didn't need reps?
I didn't get it at the time.
Okay, are we sure the Saints are the best team in the NFC South?
I am sure.
Okay.
I am sure they are the best team in the AFC South. The Falcons are still there. I think the Saints are. But the question is, are we sure?
Right.
No, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'm not sure. Yes.
Yes.
I expected you to say, yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You backed off. You're right. It is, are we sure?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Okay. Are we sure that the passing game struggles we've seen these first 2 weeks are going to continue the whole season?
No. It's a product of teams not playing preseason, seriously. They will get better.
Okay. I agree. I think there's that. I think there's some defensive schemes. Are we sure the Ravens should be favored on the road this week?
No, not 100% sure. I guess that Dallas would be favored on guessing lines.
Hey, last one real quick. Are we sure the 0-2 Bengals deserve to be the favorites in the AFC North?
No, we're not sure about that. Even though we have bets on it, you and I have plus 175, but I go through that whole thing. Plus 175 doesn't mean that they're the favorites, but it's a good number. I think it's the Ravens and the Bengals. I think it's a 2-team talk, but I'm not sure they're above the Ravens. Ravens, I don't know if you know this, pretty good franchise. Jason Weingarten next right here on A Numbers Game.
A Numbers Game on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
Are you the type of player who's looking to get down $10,000 or more on an NFL line at the best price in the market? Or perhaps you're looking to get your in-game play instantly accepted? Introducing Sport Trade, the app that's going to change sports betting. Minus 104 lines instead of the typical minus 110 instant in-game betting and a concierge player service. Sport Trade is perfect for those who want a premium betting experience. Sport Trade live in New Jersey, Colorado, and Iowa. And we had some confusion on this yesterday, but Arizona will be live in a couple days per Sport Trade. Also coming to Virginia early next month. Download Sport Trade, use code VSIN to earn 10% cash back on each wager in your first week. Terms apply. Got to be 21 years or older to play. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. It's Gill Alexander. It's Kelley Bydlon. Historian Kelley Bydlon, who has told us that the dawn of time began at Prohibition early last century.
Can I do some quick commercial hot takes?
Please.
Okay. Have you seen the Case Keenum backup commercial?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's one of the most well-done commercials ever.
Case Keenum has a commercial?
Yeah. So that's part of what makes it great, right?
Yeah.
But it's the whole idea of it is the guy can't back his truck in with a trailer into his driveway properly, so the wife taps Case Keenum to go fill in for him. Amazing. It's amazing.
Amazing.
Will Ferrell has a credit card commercial now that I can't tell if it's funny or not, or if my brain is just trained at this point in time to laugh at anything Will Ferrell does.
You're factory wired for Will Ferrell comedy.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Jennifer Garner. These commercials got to stop. This is Tom Hanks. The League of Their Own one is just awful. Especially since she's supposed to be a trained actress. It's really bad. If I was Tom Hanks, I'd be very upset about it.
I thought you were referring to You May Know Me From My Other Job.
Well, that one's not great either. Yeah. I don't
know. Okay, I'm glad we settled that.
Yeah.
J.D. Peterson, we get tweets at Beat of the Book. J.D. Peterson, love the show, Gill. He's talking about the Megapod here. He says, too much to ask to get a summary rundown of everyone's picks at the end? Thanks. I love when someone phrases a question. Too much to ask? Okay, I get the idea. No, it's not too much to ask. Judd O'Connor, Rodgers didn't play football for a full year. I can see him progressively get better as the year goes, same as Kirk and rookies as the year unfolds. I believe this also holds true with lower talent quarterbacks to get worse as the year progresses. Well, as far as the Rodgers and Kirk thing, that's what I've been saying all along. You won't hear anybody talking about Achilles from now on with these two guys.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to talk about it. Bruce Dobiggin. Bruce, pickleball courts make the resort. How dare you?
Of course, Steve Fezzik has weighed in. We get texts. He just texted me this.
Oh, what did he say?
If a hotel has a concierge, then it's a resort.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one.
Volatile acid. By the way, the pickleball thing, pickleball has waged war on tennis, and enough is enough. Tennis is going to retaliate.
It's kind of broken Gill and Matt Brown's friendship a little bit. I think it's hurt it a little bit.
I love tennis. I love playing tennis. I love playing ping pong or table tennis, whatever you want to call it. But this thing in the middle called pickleball is mass hysteria. It's the most groupthink. Everybody's decided this is a great thing. It's not. It's terrible.
I didn't really think about it. You're right. It's exactly in the middle. Tennis and ping pong.
It's horrible. And then people are like, oh, actually, it's such great exercise. Is it? Is it? Volatile acid. I think I'm saying that right. Loose cannon. Wish I didn't know this, but a resort, he Googled this, right? On-site amenities, recreational activities, self-contained experience, vacation-focused, and location, typically a scenic destination.
Yeah, come on, Loose Cannon. This is the same thing that popped up on Google when I searched it.
Rick Ollier, Ohtani's game was the most impressive athletic feat since young Gill had 834 yards through the air, 271 on the ground, and 17 total touchdowns while playing Pop Warner in the DMV, he meant. Area circa 1984. Hashtag let's ride. How'd you know? Yeah, the camera's rolling. Jeez, that's amazing. I didn't really notice them at the time. And I think that's it. Do we have one more? No, that's it. On the tweets. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, is he ready to go? He is? Yes? No? We're trying to determine from under a cloud of smoke? Yes? No? In Southern California? Courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line? Somebody help me out.
Yeah.
Jason Weingarten?
Think he's
we
there.
think? Maybe?
Yes.
Jason, there he is. How you doing, Jason?
How's it going? What's up?
Listen, someone gave me credit here kindly on Twitter for saying I was the first. Joe C did give me the credit for saying I was the first person he heard bigging up Shohei back in the day. I will then pass it to you because I will give you credit as the guy who was the first to make bets on Shohei. Last night, is that the greatest single game you've ever witnessed by any player?
Well, I did not witness it, so it's not the single greatest game I've ever witnessed. But in terms of baseball history, it's hard to point to anything in my lifetime that I can say is impressive as what Ohtani did yesterday. I mean, he did, what you do in video games, basically. The only sort of thing I'd point out is it's unfortunate he did it against such a bad team that, that's the thing is like, it is not taking nothing away from Ohtani. Are we really calling the greatest day beating up, a glorified AAA team of jobbers at the end of the season that doesn't even want to be out there? I mean, those guys on the cross from the Dodgers are just straight up losers. So
it was very sad. I mean, I saw it live. I'm sure everybody's seen the highlights by now. But him rounding third after the home run, the 50th home run, and then you're like, yeah, let's check out the upper decks of Marlins Stadium right now. Nope, nobody there.
Anybody who's had the experience of playing Little League baseball and being on the bad or worst team in the league knows how the Marlins felt yesterday. Just having to stand out there while the best player on the other team's hitting home run after home run on you, running around the bases. I mean, it brings back Little League experience memories for me. I don't know about you.
Cut to a shot of a young Jason Weingarten in the outfield, like blowing on dandelions while the game
I'm
is going.
so with Jason. Yes, I am so with Jason. This is when you're like 9 and you're like, let's get this game over with already. Where's the pizza?
This is boring.
Where's the Capri Sun?
Any picks, any plays in baseball, or are you staying off baseball this time of year?
I mean, even if I say I'm going to stay off baseball, I can't do it, like I'm going to end up betting a couple things every day. And, like I mentioned before, at this point, I'm mostly just circling games that I think, a team, a playoff team versus non-playoff team. I'm kind of looking at those as opposed to, trying to find two teams that have basically given up already and figure out who's going to win that. One thing I do like to point out around this time is yesterday, for example, the Rangers were on the brink of elimination. If they lose this game, they're out of the playoffs. A lot of times when I see stuff like that, I like to bet against those teams because I think they know that they're about to be eliminated and they're kind of just like, hey, let's get it over with. It's, it's inevitable at this point. So I do look for situations like that. Today, I bet the Tigers plus 148. They are
Let's go.
one of the hottest teams in baseball right now, and they're likely gonna stick around and make this last week pretty interesting. So I got that, and then otherwise, I'll probably look at a couple live spots, and then I got my eye on the Mets at this point, and I'm kind of wondering if I'm just gonna end up betting the Mets every day the rest of the season and worry about my Braves, yes, they'll make the playoffs. How I'm going to deal with that?
Well, let me just ask you this because I have the Tigers to make at plus 450 from a few days ago. I have the Braves to miss at 8-1. Am I going to win both of those, or am I going to split, or am I going to lose both? I
think you split most likely outcome, but both are live. There's so much calculus with the Braves and how the season ends. They finished the season versus the Royals. Are the Royals going to be in the playoffs before those final 3 games? It comes down a lot of stuff with strikeouts. Is Cole Reagan's going to pitch on the last day of the season? Is Chris Sale going to potentially pitch on 4 days rest on the last day of the season if the Braves are still alive and need a win? There's a lot of questions I have as we come down this final stretch, but it ends up being one of the most fun things in baseball. And always one of the most memorable is that last week, the last day when teams are alive. I remember there was one year the Rays were alive on the last day of the season and had to win. And, it's crazy stuff. It's one of the more fun parts of baseball is when we get down to the last couple days.
Still worried about the Mets. 2-game lead over the Braves, and the Mets have 3 left against the Phillies, 3 left against the Brewers, and 3 left against those very same Braves. Mets, by the way, 13-4 in the month of September. They lead the Guardians 12-6 this month. Tigers 11-5, Phillies 11-6 at the top of the September standings. Week 3 NFL. Jason, did you bet anything?
I bet the Packers again. I was super impressed with Matt LaFleur's game plan with Malik Willis. That was just. I wish more teams ran a 1960s running offense like that. So I took +3 -120. I think we see Jordan Love back sooner than later, but Malik Willis did a decent job. So that's my bet. Otherwise, it looks like it's going to be a pretty light week in the NFL for me. I might take the Chargers, but I know there's some stuff with Herbert's ankle or whatever. So playing it kind of. I haven't bet a lot yet on that.
That's the thing with you were talking earlier, Kelley, about like some sharp bettors, Chargers conviction. Mm-hmm. They sort of omit the Justin Herbert part of that, right?
I mean, I'm sure they haven't mentally, but it's just, are we sure he's better than like 80% healthy?
I don't know. No, we don't know. Jason,
Doesn't
appreciate
sound like it.
Jason,
Doesn't
appreciate
sound
it
like
very much, man. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Have a good weekend, guys. I'll talk to you next week.
You too. Jason Weingarten at Spreadopedia, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Football Friday. Felica, Fezzik, Dr. Bob next on a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.